Get a date.
The 28th.
21st.
Oh, you meant, okay, yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'm good. Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1.
What is up? This is the 6 month behind podcast for the week of 5/21/18. I am Pat.
And I am Sean.
And this week we're Will Power and Kyle Busch, much to your chagrin because you don't like racing. But yesterday was like the biggest day in the world in racing. I mean, because it's the F1 race in Monaco, and then the Indianapolis 500, and then the Coca-Cola 600.
Yeah.
You literally get up at 7 in the morning and watch racing till 10 at night.
I don't have a problem with racing. I have a problem with NASCAR.
Well, 2 of those aren't NASCAR.
Yeah, but the third one is, and that's bad enough.
I understand. And if you watch all 3, you realize NASCAR is the most boring of the 3.
Oh, dude, that's like the number one reason I don't like NASCAR. It's incredibly boring. That's 50% of the reason I don't like NASCAR. The other 50% is the dumb rednecks that go to NASCAR and love NASCAR, and I have to deal with because I live near Talladega.
Yes, I understand. Dude. You ever get stuck in those traffic jams?
No, because I try not to go to Talladega very often.
Okay, this is just totally off the track. Years ago, when I lived in Birmingham and I was making sales calls down that way,
yeah.
On a Friday afternoon about 1 o'clock, I needed to run out to the Honda plant, which, as you know, is out there by the Talladega racetrack.
Right, yeah, it's right there.
And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I can go out Monday morning, but I got XX and X to do Monday morning, or I can go out Friday afternoon and get this over with. And dude, I start out there and completely forgot it was race day. I get somewhere past Leeds where there's like no exit because you're stuck on the friggin' bridge. And dude, I was stuck in traffic for hours. I turned around and didn't get home till 4 o'clock. And as you know, we're only talking like a 20-mile distance.
Okay? Yeah, it's not like from where you used to live to where Talladega is 20 miles, maybe less.
Yeah. For 3 hours, I was just stuck in traffic, man.
Yeah, what should have been a 30-minute drive was...
I never made it to my destination.
Yeah, you just turned around.
Just turned around, and it still took me 3 hours to get home.
Yeah, last time, actually, it was a couple weeks ago that Talladega was, and as they were leaving the racetrack, I was driving to Memphis. So I didn't run into any of it.
Yeah, there you go.
But dude, when the race is in town, you can't find a hotel room in the Birmingham metro area.
No, because you can't find a hotel room. And the other thing that happens is they've widened all that interstate, but when you cross the lake, they're about 10 miles west of Talladega.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't widened those bridges. You know, it's going to cost those bridges are like half a mile long. It's going to cost a fortune to widen them. So they haven't. So you can make the thing 6 lanes wide on each side if you want to, but you're still going to bottleneck it right there at that friggin' bridge.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a pain in the rear end, man. Which is why I don't like racing. If you love racing or don't like racing, please email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That's 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. And you can tell us about your experience with NASCAR and various racing businesses.
Or go to the website at www.6monthsbehind.com.
Check out our other show as well, What's Next. We haven't done one in a while. We're probably going to do one. We did one on the Comic Book Boom. We're going to do one on the Bust here soon. And it's a good show. Go check it out. About 20 minutes. It's nowhere nearly as long as this show tends to go. It's a nice bite-sized piece of content for your morning or afternoon commute.
Yes, and we owe everyone an apology because for the first time in 2.5 years.
I think it's the second time, but yeah.
We didn't record last week. And it was a whole lot of circumstances. But the bottom line was Tuesday night, you're coming home from jury duty.
Yeah, I had jury duty all week. So I had to do jury duty and meet my other obligations.
And I'm coming home and get rear-ended for the third time in 4 years in my truck because people can't drive and get another concussion, and dude, we were just like, okay, we're over this. No.
Yeah. You had been traveling that weekend. The only night we could do it was Tuesday. I spent 30 minutes walking around a parking deck because I was running so late that morning. I forgot where I parked in that parking deck. So I ran around the parking deck for 30 minutes, got stuck in the traffic coming home. Actually, at one point, I almost got rear-ended because people can't drive. You did get rear-ended in traffic coming home, and it was just this whole thing. We were tired. We all had 100 different things we were doing. So sorry. All of these things converged to create a situation where it was just not feasible. So
yeah, we're gonna hit the best books from last week, of which I thought there was 3, there's 4. But yeah, we apologize. Real quickly, up on the website, I'm going to throw up that dude who has the Guinness World Record of largest comic book collection. And did you actually listen to the whole podcast? I didn't know if you did or not, or if you just read the story.
I read the article. I didn't realize there was even a podcast attached to it.
Yeah, there's a podcast attached to it, and he explains the podcast is actually pretty good.
Is it? Okay, yeah. I'll go back and listen.
And it had to be 105,000 individual items. So there are stores. Mile High Comics has got millions. Okay. But he's the only one verified with 105,000 individual comic books, which is just insane.
Yeah. What is your cat doing?
She's stuck in here.
Oh, okay. You want to go let her out?
I'm going to go let her out real quick. Hold on.
Okay. Anyway, sorry about not having a show last week. We are going to hit some of the highlights. So just to let you guys know, we do discuss spoilers on this show. If you have not read these comic books, which they're 2 weeks old now, you should have already read them. But we are going to discuss this week's books too. So if you've not read them, please pause the show and come back when you've read them and we will discuss them and you will not be spoiled.
There you go. And yeah. I don't have a cat going meow, meow, meow anymore.
I heard it a couple times and then it was just like a cacophony of meowing. And I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, that's the one that doesn't like being around people. And she was trapped in here with me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so last week we had a bunch of books, but we decided to highlight Daredevil, Moon Knight, Deadpool, and Squirrel Girl.
Yeah, Daredevil number 595. Quick synopsis. Wilson Fisk is the mayor now, and Daredevil is dealing with the fallout of that. And boy, it's a doozy. Charles Soule is killing every single issue of this book, man. It's so good.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Moon Knight 188 is the relaunch of that series. It relaunched with number 188 because it's a legacy book, because that worked out so well for everyone. But it begins a new storyline, and it's really cool. It's basically the origin issue of a villain.
Yes.
And dude, it's an awesome book. The psychiatrist who had been treating Moon Knight begins treating someone else, and she basically invites the sun god demon, whose name I forgot, Ra, to come possess the dude. Yeah, man, it's all good.
Yeah, and I was super excited for it because it's written by Max Bemis, who I'm a big fan of, not just as a comic book writer, but as some of you may know, he's the front man for Say Anything. And I've been a big fan of their music for a long time.
Deadpool 289 continues the Cable and Deadpool story. That's actually a pretty cool book, because what Deadpool and Cable decided to do is go back in time to right before Deadpool made the deal with Strife and stop it from happening. And it ends in the world blowing up. And that doesn't work out well for anyone. So they're like, okay, this plan didn't work. Let's try another one. It's a cool issue, really is.
It was a good issue. I enjoyed it, and I'm not one who enjoys a lot of Deadpool stuff. I threw Squirrel Girl number 26 on there because it's a special issue. It was a charity issue. They took the proceeds from all the sales and donated it to,
I assume, some library, which is what they kept talking about.
Yeah, it was a library. I was trying to look at the book and figure out, but it was a library charity for a library in New York. But you had a ton of guests on it. So you had it was a bunch of like 2 and 3 page stories, all written by a bunch of guest artists or guest writers and guest artists. The biggest of which was Jim Davis. If you don't know who Jim Davis is, Jim Davis created Garfield the Cat, and he does a Galactus and Silver Surfer story in this book, and it's worth a read, guys. Even if you're not a regular Squirrel Girl reader, go read it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And that brings us to this week's books.
Yeah, we're going to discuss the current books this week.
Beginning with our Spider-Man and Scarlet Spider number 10. I enjoyed that book.
Okay. It was a better issue than it's been, but it's still suffering from what I'm going to term Peter David syndrome. The plot just keeps increasing, and you keep adding new characters, and it never really goes anywhere. And you keep adding all these characters that nobody really remembers who they are. And it just kind of spins its wheels forever. And it's not bad, because I especially like the villain in this. But I'm like, the whole time I'm like, who is this? Who is she? Who's that guy? Why are there tentacles everywhere? Dude, I'm just not into it.
I understand.
And maybe you are, but
it's. I mean, I didn't say it was great. Okay, I said it was okay.
Dude, Ben Reilly's still trying to work for this casino lady with a cure or something for a kid who's not sick anymore. Her brother's a problem, but also there's Mysterio and her daughter, and the Hornet, or I don't know who any of these people are, is my first problem. The only person I recognize in this book is Ben Reilly, and apparently the dude who is Mysterio most of the time. They're fighting some sort of tentacle creature that's awful. There's actually a nice scene with the crazy lady from the casino and a little girl. There's something weird going on with the little girl. There's some ninjas. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. Peter Parker, go ahead.
Just what happened to Peter David, dude? He used to be a fantastic writer, and now I feel like he lives too much in his own head, and he's playing with all these toys that he used to love to play with, but nobody knows who they are, and he's bad at introducing these characters. There's so many different plot threads.
How many times have we banged on a writer for spending an entire issue introducing a character that we're going to see for 2 issues?
Good point, but at least a little. Hey, it's at least something. I like in the Scarlet Spider book, the guy running around in the silver spider suit. I have no idea who that is.
No, I don't either.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't.
Yeah. Anyway, Peter Parker 297, which I wanted to read, but I haven't read 296, where he interviews Jonah. And I was going to do that last night, but now Marvel Unlimited won't let me open that book. So,
dude, those are 2 good issues.
Yes, I would love to read them.
Anyway, Jonah sells out Peter Parker in the last issue, and the authorities, I really have trouble determining who this is. I think it's a combination of the police and the FBI, except they're being bought off by Roxxon. And they're after, if they can't get Spider-Man, they figured they'll capture Peter Parker and Spider-Man will come rescue him. So Peter Parker gets back to his apartment just in time to receive a text from his sister saying the apartment's a trap, don't go there. And the whole issue is Peter Parker trying to fight his way out of the apartment building. It's actually pretty cool because if you remember back in issue 1 or 2, the Black Widow fought Spider-Man and gave S.H.I.E.L.D. information on how his spider sense works.
Oh.
And there's a villain in this issue who's using it against him. So, that's pretty cool because he doesn't have his spider sense to get away. Eventually, Jameson shows up to help him. And I won't spoil the end for you, but the end's pretty good.
Okay, cool. I would love to read it, but I need the other issue, and Marvel Unlimited says no. So I guess I'm just gonna. I don't know. I think there's a big Comixology sale, and all the Spider-Man stuff is on sale. So I may just buy the single issue for 99
cents. I bought Kingdom Come last night. I never read that.
Really?
If I did, it was apparently in the 90s. Like 20 some odd years ago, and I forgot it. I don't remember reading it.
It came out in like 96, so it's been a while. But dude, I didn't even know like its status in the comic book world. I was just in a Books A Million one day, killing some time, browsing through the comic book section, pulled that off the shelf, thought this looks neat, and I sat in a Books A Million for like 2 hours and read the whole thing. I just started reading it and I was like, oh, this looks good. And I got so interested. I realized 2 hours later, I was still sitting in this Books A Million reading this comic book. I also picked up Kingdom Come last night on that Comixology. So
we know my
I spent like $30 on comic books.
Oh, all I bought was Kingdom Come, man.
I bought a few other things too. So
we all know about my fandom, nearly obsession with Alex Ross. And this cover of Amazing Spider-Man, that 791, which is our next book, is very good.
Okay. I didn't talk about Spider-Man 2, but okay.
Oh, is it in the way? Oh, it is in the way. It's next.
Yeah.
But we got to talk about Alex Ross art. And
go ahead.
And dude, that Kingdom Come book, his art on that book, holy cow, man. It's just amazing. I mean, and the cover of the Spider-Man 791 book is amazing. It shows Peter Parker and Mockingbird making out. But go ahead, Spider-Man 2, number 4.
Real quick, we all know that the plot of this is that there's a Miles Morales. Miles Morales is from Earth 1610, the Miles Morales that we know. There's a 616 Miles Morales that also exists. Turns out he's a big old gangster who has worked with Wilson Fisk for years. Anyway, his wife died, and he's very sad about it. And Wilson explains to him, listen, there are other realities out there where she exists and she's happy. And if you want to, you can find her. Q Spider-Man, he has an interaction with this girl he likes, which coincidentally is the younger version of the girl that the older Miles Morales is into. Like the older 616 Miles Morales and this lady got married in one reality, and then Miles Morales that we know and this girl are starting to kind of date in school. That's going to be a wrench that gets thrown in later, I'm sure. Anyway, he goes off to track down Taskmaster, who he and Peter Parker have been keeping tabs on. Turns out Taskmaster is the one that he's working for the evil Miles Morales in scouting out all these different multiverses in order to find his the woman that he loves from another universe. Anyway, it was all right.
Okay. Amazing Spider-Man 791, which continues the fall of Parker. Someday I'm going to figure out how Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man, and Amazing Spider-Man are related, because they're taking Parker in two totally different directions. But
it's like Wolverine, dude. At some point, he's in everything, and you're just doing everything with him.
Yeah, we go back to that old issue of Wolverine where it's things like a weekend Wolverine. He's everywhere, man. It's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah. Anyway, this book begins with the relationship of Bobby Morrissey, Mockingbird, and Peter Parker. I like that Dan Slott is doing some homages to the Mockingbird solo book.
Yeah.
And he's doing them verbally. He's making Bobby Morrissey a proud feminist in this book, instead of saying, okay, we don't, we're just going to pretend that book didn't happen.
Yeah. Downplay.
Right. He's continuing the evolution of the character in this series, which is really entertaining. he goes to the Bugle. He gets an assignment. Actually, he creates an assignment because everybody's hating on him to go to a human robotics company. Actually, it's Human Robotics Incorporated, where they're developing human robots. He and Bobby think there's something up with it. So they go back, break in later, and turns out that the brains of the robots are some villain of Thor called Sandstorm or something. I don't know.
So it's Sandman, but a lady is essentially
it's
all
a lady
it is.
Sandman, which I think they actually call her in a book. I mean, in the book.
Yeah.
And they fight her. Everybody lives happily ever after. Peter Parker does a great job for the paper. Bobby loses another job in security. The villain gets away.
Did she lose her job?
Well, yeah, man. The company goes out of business.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
And she's a super genius. She'll be fine.
Yeah, and Harry and Liz buy the company. There you go. That's going to end well.
Yeah, probably. We'll see.
Yeah.
All of this is, I mean, it's called, look, this was a nice little issue, but it's called The Fall of Peter Parker for a reason. None of this is going to end well.
No, absolutely not.
No. Moving on to our X-Men books, we have Weapon X number 11. This is the conclusion of this story. Thank God.
The Weapon H story?
Yes, because it's gone on for 11 issues. And listen, it's a good story. I've enjoyed it. But reading it issue to issue like this, it feels like it's taken forever. Anyway, the Weapon X team is thrown down with Weapon H, trying to stop him from destroying a city. Then they have to stop Sabretooth, who's decided he's just going to hit the dude with a nuke and stop him. And yes, that means collateral damage, but it'll stop the Weapon H Hulkverine from killing everybody. Which is when we find out that the scientist lady has been injecting him with this like mind control serum. And if he's separated from that long enough, he gains control over his own mind again. And in fact, he is not the crazed beast we think he is. He's actually trying to destroy all these Eagle Star bases and all this info so that they can't track down his family. He understands, like all the other Weapon X programs, Wolverine and such, that this has changed his life, and now he has to do all this alone, but at the very least that he can keep them from tracking down his family.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, William Stryker lives on and is a robot.
I enjoyed this series. I know you didn't. I
did. It just, I feel like it was 11 issues. I feel like it could have been 6.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, it was good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to downplay it. It was a good story. I felt like it went a little long.
Okay. X-Men Blue number 15. Story that didn't go long is the conclusion to the Mojoverse storyline. And I actually enjoyed this. The whole story arc.
Yeah, I was surprised because Mojo.
Yeah, but I did. And they're fighting him. They finally give an explanation in this book of how he gets his powers, which the more ratings he has, somehow that makes him more powerful. I don't know how that works, but hey, it's a comic book. So the X-Men are fighting him. A couple of issues ago, the Gold team, Kitty Pryde, found out that the Blue team of the X-Men are working with Magneto, who everyone thought was dead from a couple of years ago. And they're not particularly.
He died during the war with the Inhumans.
Is that when it was?
Yeah, because remember he was working with Emma Frost.
Oh, that's right. He let Cyclops kill him.
Yeah, or
think she did.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So anywho, I'm having a flashback, and now I've completely lost my train of thought. So Magneto, Polaris, and Danger show up to save the day. Some really good art in this book by Jorge Molina. Really good. There's a couple of splash pages there with Magneto and Polaris in it that are good, and it's got good color in it too. And they eventually, what they do is they destroy all of Mojo's equipment, which destroys his ability to get ratings, which destroys his ability, which cuts off his power supply. So he's defenseless. They think he's dead. He's actually living in the sewers of New York. Kitty Pryde chews out Magneto. There you go. It's a good book.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to take Mojo and actually use him like this, I'm down. It was you took a D-list villain at best and actually did something neat with him. And again, it's what we've talked about before, like what they did with Secret Empire. The villain and the story is a vehicle for getting certain characters into certain situations to tell further stories. In this case, it is that the world knows that Magneto is not dead, and the young X-Men team is working with him. Everybody knows now. It's not a secret anymore.
Right. A funny side note. I'm listening to we had a guest speaker yesterday at church, and he was talking about the first time he spoke in public when he was 17. He said he spoke for 20 minutes and 10 of it was ums. And I got a splitting headache, and I lost my train of thought. And I was going about 3 times, and if I flash back to him.
Dude, I do it all the time. Don't worry.
I know. Anyway.
I watched a lawyer give not testimony, but argue a whole case while going and getting people's names wrong, and she still won. So you know, it's okay.
At some point, just listen to yourself or record yourself so you can realize when you're using filler words, which is what is. You know, those are filler words. So you can realize when you're using filler words and trying to eliminate them. Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to our Avengers books, of which we have one this week. Champions number 14. The only reason we're calling it an Avengers book is because it's crossing over with the Avengers right now. I feel like we're not getting a whole lot of Avengers stuff lately, but I think that's all about to change because this book becomes a weekly thing, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I think within a month, the Avengers will start going weekly.
Okay, yeah. So there's again. We're dealing with this World Collide storyline with the High Evolutionary. So as we saw last issue, he kidnapped Falcon and Viv Vision. He's turned Viv Vision into a human. She's a real girl now, and she's kind of having a hard time with that. Also, because now she has a human mind, she can't physically block all the grief over her dead mother and brother. So she's having a bad day. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Avengers figure out how to get to Counter Earth, where High Evolutionary is. They make their way there, rescue Viv, rescue Falcon before the High Evolutionary can turn him into an actual bird person. And the plot that the High Evolutionary has is revealed. He wants to smash the two Earths together and create a whole new planet in the chaos that comes from it, which sounds a whole lot like another thing that we did recently. But okay,
yes,
smashing Earths together, creating a new reality out of the pieces. Yeah, where have I heard that before?
I told you this storyline was very familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here's the thing: they're all but going to repeat it in the next Avengers storyline.
I had heard that as well.
Yeah,
just is this going to be another? Or when's the next event where all the superheroes fight one another? That's what I'm waiting on. We haven't had one of those in a while.
It's coming soon, I'm sure.
Anyway, all the Avengers are together again on Counter Earth, and they're going to take the fight to the High Evolutionary.
There you go. Moving on to our 616 books, we have Deadpool and Old Man Logan. This book has a plot. There's these guys, there's this young mutant that no one's seen before, and she has the ability to teleport things across space and time. So at one point, like Deadpool and Wolverine are standing there, and just Old Man Logan, I should say, and this motorcycle just materializes out of thin air at 50 miles an hour and smashes into him. You know, that's basically her ability. These guys from Gen Form 1 are, Deadpool and Wolverine are wanting to keep her safe. The girl's saying, hey, I can protect myself. I don't need you protecting me. That's the story. It's not, I mean, if you want quippy Deadpool dialogue, if you want old man Logan, there's some good jokes in here. This is simply a vehicle to get these two characters together and have them cut up lots of people. That's all this is. And if that's your
looks
thing,
good.
It looks good. Yeah. I mean, it's not bad. It's just not great. You know, I was hoping it would be better.
I'm not really reading it as so much as I'm flipping through it and looking at the art, and it looks good.
Oh, it absolutely looks good, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. Defenders number 7, which is another book that looks good. In fact, I'd say it's the best looking book of this whole lot this week. Dude, the cover looks good. All of this art is just fabulous, man. It's so good. David Marquez is killing it on the art. So as we saw in the last issue, Deadpool showed up. Luckily, Deadpool, unlike other books that he guest stars in, doesn't take over the whole book. He's actually only in it for a little bit, and it doesn't divert the story so much as just kind of accent it. He does the opening here, and the catch up page is 2 pages of him, you know, being Deadpool. Meanwhile, Elektra and Danny Rand meet up to have a conversation about, oh, hey, we've never fought each other. Okay, well, we need some information and we need your help. The two of them duke it out. Danny Rand is able to win that fight. Takes her to Daredevil. Daredevil is it's not an interrogation, but they have this weird like rooftop psychic link meeting thing where she gives him some info. While that all is going on, Diamondback busts up into Hammerhead's club and is like, hey, this is my place now, and you can come work for me or not. It's up to you. Hammerhead goes on a typical villain dialogue and gets a bullet in the head, which was surprising. I did not expect that. Did you read this?
I have not read this, and okay. I've got the hardcover issues. I've got hardcover, like
I was gonna say, didn't you buy the you
12 like 18, and I got them in a stack waiting to read.
Dude, Hammerhead. Okay, so if you've been keeping up with this, Black Cat and Hammerhead have been making a play to take over the criminal underworld of New York for months now.
Right.
And because Wilson Fisk has been out of it and he's been running he's gone legit, as they say. Hammerhead has really become a integral part of all that. And dude, he's just gone in a page.
Yeah, I need to get these books out and read them.
Yeah, you really do.
I really do. Yes.
Gets blown away by one of his own henchmen who's decided he likes Diamondback's deal better.
Huh.
So we figure out what Elektra's doing and why she's looking for Diamondback. Meanwhile, the Punisher is hunting the Defenders. He's got the bead on Daredevil just as Daredevil's about to take his mask off, because all the Defenders are like, hey, look, we've reached a point where we're taking a lot of your word for all these things. We need to know who you are. Just as Punisher's about to blow Matt's head off, there's these 2 white globes that show up in his scope sights. Turns out it's Deadpool's butt. And that's when he and Deadpool get into a big old fight, and the Defenders show up to give him a hand. Yeah. So yeah, it was good, man. Book is gorgeous. It's well written. It's a good story. It's the classic Bendis that we all know, but man, this book is gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. That brings us to Doctor Strange number 381. I've been looking forward to this for a while, and we warned you about spoilers at the top, so this is your last warning. This is written by Donnie Cates, drawn by Gabriel Hernandez Walta, which is his art's very good. And it's Loki as the Sorcerer Supreme. There's no explanation as to how we got here. It's kind of, you realize that Doctor Strange and Loki are both narrating the book as you go.
Right.
Right. And it just, you begin with Velma, isn't that her name? Velma?
Velma Stanton?
Zelma, I'm sorry. Velma. Come on, man. Anyway, Zelma's at the.
We were at the end of the alphabet. We got close.
Yeah. Anyway, she's at the Sanctum Sanctorum, which is now floating like 20 feet off the ground, and she lets some dude in to help him, and then you get the flashback to Doctor Strange. Then it really gets interesting because Loki goes to it's the bar with no doors, right? Isn't that what it's called? Yeah, the bar with no doors. There it is in front of me. And all the magicians.
Which I have co-opted for my D&D campaign, by the way.
Really?
There's a bar with no doors where all the cool wizards hang out.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Anywho, he's there talking to all the mages. And you try and figure out, is he really a hero trying to do good? Or is he just being Loki and telling all the lies to make everybody believe it is? And at some point, Lady Thor, Jane Foster, comes down and confronts him. And even she's like, dude, do you even believe your own horse crap when you're spewing it out? So you really don't understand which he's trying to do. You don't know, is he really trying to do good here? Or is he, is he up to something because he's Loki? It's really good. And I wish they had let this progress some, but they wanted Stephen Strange back as the Sorcerer Supreme in the Avengers. So this only lasts a few months.
Yeah. Just like Donny Cates' run on this book.
Yeah.
But that's okay. He's doing other stuff for Marvel, and Mark Waid takes this book over. And I like Mark Waid at any time doing anything. So
yeah, I mean,
I ain't really complaining.
It's just, I felt like there was a lot of here to explore, and they wanted to return to the status quo because their sales are bad.
Right. You got 5 or 6 issues of this when you could have had 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
Yes.
Seems to be an issue. Sometimes you get those stories that you're like, this really could have wrapped up in 6 issues. And then you get ones that you're like, you needed more time to do this.
Yeah.
I feel that way about this Champions and Avengers story. That book moves so quickly.
Yeah.
The plot is advancing so fast that I feel like, it's 6 issues, but it needed to be 8 or 10.
Yeah. And it really just revolves around, I mean, there's a lot going on there, but at the end of the day, it's just about Vision and Viv.
It really is. And that could have been a story all on its own, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Anyway, Guardians number 147. We continue with this jaunt with the Nova Corps. They have dealt with the threat of the Ultron bots that had taken over this ship. They all report back to the Nova Corps. The guy that's head of this branch of the Nova Corps sends Rocket and the rest of the Guardians, along with Peter Quill and Rich Rider, out to check on some Novas who went rogue. They get in a fight before they realize they're both on the same side. Also, one of these Nova ladies is pregnant. I don't know what that's about. So it turns out that these Shi'ar spies that they're dealing with, the Falcons or something like that, have infiltrated and compromised the Nova Corps, and they're trying to figure out how to reverse all this. Meanwhile, on this planet that they're on, they've made a huge discovery that is an Infinity Stone.
Which one is that? Is that the Power Gem?
Maybe. I don't know.
I'd have to look and see which one's pink.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember.
It's
just not half bad. It was a pretty good book.
I just realized I didn't read this book. I don't understand. Years ago, they killed the entire Nova Corps except Rich Rider.
Yeah.
And then
they killed
Sam.
Rider.
Right. Well, then they killed Rich Rider, and then Sam, what's his name? Got the helmet, and he was like the only Nova, the kid. Now there's just Novas everywhere, and the core's back, and I'm like, how did this happen? I mean, without Xandar, without the World Mind, how do you have all these Novas again?
It looks like they've been trying to rebuild the Nova Core, but I don't know exactly how that's been going on.
Yeah. Hawkeye number 12. I've not been a fan of this series. It's not my art style. I'm kind of not into the whole Kate Bishop thing. But in this issue, she and
Laura
X-23's name. Thank you. Laura Kinney and Gabby team up because they're all looking for someone who's cloned them. She's looking, Kate Bishop is looking for the person who cloned her mom. Laura Kinney and Gabby are looking for someone who may have cloned them. So it turns into basically this team up issue. And of course, I forget the Wolverine's name, the real Wolverine, the little animal.
Jonathan.
Jonathan is there, and he and the Lucky the dog get along.
Yeah,
which is great. And it's just, the book was just really entertaining. I mean, if they had taken this too seriously, it wouldn't have been any good. Instead, they just kind of go from bar to bar, beating people up until they finally do or don't find what they're looking for. They duct tape a guy. Actually, they duct tape him and all his clones, where he's at this factory making the clones. And Gabby thinks duct tape's the greatest thing in the world. It's, it's entertaining. It was fun.
Yeah. Whoever's writing this is really good at certain comedy beats. So Kate will tell certain jokes or say certain things, and it just the comedic timing is right.
Right.
There's some depth to the book, but it's also really funny at times, and that's what I like about it.
And that's what I enjoyed about this issue.
Yeah. Hulk number 710, Return to Planet Hulk Part 2. The gist of this issue is that the World Breaker has returned to Sakaar, and he has to participate in what are they calling this?
A tournament, some kind of tournament.
There's like 5 challenges, and if he wins the freedom of this tribe that he was a part of last time he was here, because some warlord has taken over the whole planet or something. It's good. It's got a real Mad Max vibe. Like, you can tell between the last Planet Hulk and this one, you can tell that Mad Max Fury Road came out, and that Greg Pak really enjoyed that movie and took some inspiration from it. It's good. If you like Hulk, if you like Planet Hulk, you'll like this.
Well, it's got it's got that whole thing where Amadeus Cho is trying to keep the Hulk contained and restrained, and it's not working out for him because he needs the World Breaker to win these battles, and to get the World Breaker, he's got to turn the Hulk loose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's okay. Mighty Thor 701. I was thinking last night, you wonder why I have comics stacked up that I haven't read. I'm still trying to read the last 2 issues of Batman White. I still got some issues of Jessica Jones to read. I still got some Defenders issues to read. Here's why. And number one, I start reading things like Kingdom Come. I see them and I'm like, oh, that's great. And I start reading it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll get to our classic read this week. But there's these great things to read. And I'm reading this. And Jason Aaron, and we've said this before, we said it the last time we reviewed one of the Mighty Thor books. He's writing this thing like an epic, like the Lord of the Rings.
It is a saga.
It is a saga. It's the Lord of the Rings. Okay. It's the Iliad. It's the Odyssey. It is.
And he's been weaving this same story since he took over the book in 2012 or 2013.
Yeah. And I want to go back and read it. I mean, I want to start at the beginning and read it all the way through because it's just a masterpiece. It is. I mean, we'll look back at someday on Jason Aaron's run on Thor and just say, holy cow, what just happened? I mean, that's how good I think this run is. And this issue just continues it, and it's for the whole thing. It's basically Mangog fighting the War Thor, who is, I can't remember the big dude's name from the Warrior 3. Anyway, it's him. It's those two fighting. Yes, Volstagg. Thank you. it's those two fighting for essentially the whole issue, and at the end, Magog just dumps him. I mean, crushes the hammer in his hands, and the whole time it's being narrated by, I guess, Malekith. I guess Malekith, the dark elf, is the one narrating the whole thing. And he appears at the end and basically just says, "Hey, you can kill me, or you can go kill more Asgardians because here's where they're at." And Magog's like, "Okay, cool. I'll go kill more Asgardians." And I'm soft selling this thing, but the art's great, the story's great, the narration is great. It's magnificent. It really is.
Yeah, it's been really good. It's been a little difficult to keep up with issue to issue. There's so many wheels spinning in this story that I have a hard time keeping up with it. In fact, I almost want Jason Aaron to be done writing the book so that I can go back and read it from start to finish.
Yes.
Not that I want him to stop writing it, because this is the best Thor's been in a decade, but I want to read from beginning to end to get the whole story.
Right.
It's like, instead of watching Game of Thrones week to week, you just wait for the whole season to come out and binge it all at once.
Yes. Next, the opposite of Mighty Thor number 701, as far at the other end of the spectrum as you can get, is Not Brand Echh number 14.
Yeah. Now, can we get a little history lesson on this?
I was going to give you a little history lesson.
Okay.
Back in the 60s and early 70s, Mad Magazine and eventually Cracked Magazine were huge. And Mad Magazine was selling millions of copies. And the whole thing was satire. So what Stan Lee decided to do was make a Mad Magazine version of Marvel Comics called Not Brand Echh. And he basically lampooned whatever was going on in the Marvel universe at that time. And that's what it is. It's meant to be funny satire of things that are happening in the Marvel universe currently.
Yeah.
Obviously, it ran for 13 issues because we have legacy numbering. So this is, number
this
14.
is one of those legacy one-shots that they're doing.
Yes,
like they did with the Masters of Kung Fu last week.
Now, you and I had to have a disagreement because you think the only story that was good is the first story, which is 5 or 6 pages, which is Nick Spencer completely lampooning everything he did in Secret Empire. Yeah. Which he did. It's hilarious.
It's really funny, and it's even more funny when you realize it's Nick Spencer is the one writing this story, and Nick Spencer's the one who wrote Secret Empire. So he's just turning it on its head and making fun of himself the whole time.
Yeah, that was hilarious. That was hilarious.
If you don't read this whole book, at least read the first 5 pages of it to read this.
The Gwenpool story.
The Gwenpool story was good.
Where they're just sitting around looking like the Monopoly men, okay, counting money in the Marvel offices. And, how can we make another popular character? Well, we never Gwen because everybody likes Gwen Stacy, and we never Pool because Deadpool's hot.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's hilarious. There's some other stories in here that are good. The last page is really funny, where everybody's commenting on the issue and the next issue, and they even take a shot at alternate covers on that last page. It's great, man. It's some of the stories leave something to be desired, but some of them are really good. They're really funny.
These are these one-shot legacy things that they're doing, and so I'm not real hyped on them. But this one was actually not bad. This is the one that you would look at out of all of them and go, "I'm not reading this. What is this? I don't even know what it is." This is probably the one of all of them that you should read. At least the first story.
Right. Yeah.
It was actually, I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised. Secret Warriors number 8. We start with Mr. Sinister and Dark Beast kidnapping some kids in Michigan. Meanwhile, Karnak is in his office at Inilux, which is the Inhuman company that does a lot of stuff. They take a comedic spin on Karnak in this book, and it really works. Because if you know how serious Karnak can be and you make him a little funny in this, it's entertaining. Anyway, Back to our main story with the rest of the Secret Warriors: Quake, Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, Inferno, and Moon Girl. They're trying to figure out who has kidnapped this girl. Lunella is talking with Karnak. She's the one who's figured out what may be going on because she's the smartest person in the world. Ilyana Rasputin shows up, magic, thinking it's going to be a fight, but it turns out she just wants to help. They teleport around to Dark Beast lab, try to find some new info about what's going on. Eventually, they track down to a warehouse where all these kids have been kidnapped by Dark Beast and Mr. Sinister being held. It was okay. It was all right.
That's cool.
Then Punisher number 218. Now, Matthew Rosenberg is writing this book now, and we've got a new artist. And this book is taking on a different tone than it has in the last few months. What it has been is kind of little one-issue stories of just the Punisher being the Punisher. They're just kind of one-and-done stories told. That's changing with this issue. What's not changing is the parental advisory on the cover.
No.
So Frank's up to his usual stuff, killing weapons dealers. He takes out a bunch of these weapons dealers in a really gruesome fashion. They literally open the case that is supposed to be a bunch of guns where this deal's going down. There's one of their henchmen's heads in the box with a grenade in the mouth. Also in this issue, Frank Castle looks an awful lot like John Bernthal. Just all of a sudden.
Amazing how that happens.
Yeah, amazing when you do a Netflix show with John Bernthal as the Punisher. All of a sudden, he looks like the Punisher in the comic books. Anyway, he finishes up killing these thugs, goes back to the van that he lives in, and finds Nick Fury waiting for him. Nick Fury says, "Hey man, I got a proposition for you. Why don't you come have some soup with me at this Chinese restaurant?" And there's a little funny bit because Nick Fury doesn't use his real name, so he's got his reservation under the name Mr. Odin's son. And Frank's like, "Mr. Odin's son, really?" And Punisher's like, or not, Nick Fury's like, "Yeah." Fury's like, "You think Thor's ever going to try to get a reservation here?" "No, it's fine. What are you worried about?" So Nick has a job for him. Of course, S.H.I.E.L.D. is gone in the wake of Secret Empire, so Nick Fury doesn't have any resources really to deal with some of these things. And there has been a military coup in the Republic of Chernaya, which is, I guess, some sort of Eastern European former Soviet state. And apparently this military is killing a bunch of kids as a way of settling scores. Nick says, "Hey, I need you to take care of these guys for me. And if you can break into this top secret military facility, I've got some hardware you might enjoy." And Punisher does exactly that, breaks in, takes the weapon, which turns out to be the War Machine armor, which would have been a really cool reveal had it not been literally on the front cover of this comic book.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've read ahead a couple issues in this. It's exactly what you think it's going to be. It's the Punisher wearing the War Machine armor and just killing a lot of people.
Yeah, there you go. That concludes our 616 tour. Now we go to the Star Wars universe. Help me out here. Mm-hmm. I'm really enjoying this Darth Vader book.
Yeah.
I assume this takes place immediately after episode 3.
Yes.
I mean, just literally immediately after he becomes Darth Vader.
Yeah, when this picked up with number 1, it was quite literally, he'd been in the Darth Vader suit for a week or two.
That's what I thought. So this book begins with him trying to kill someone, and the Emperor's like, "Dude, let him go." He's doing the whole pinching the throat thing, and the Emperor's like, "Let him go. It's okay." And he does. And then the Emperor's got a funny line, which is, "I think if I let you, you'd kill everyone in the galaxy and there wouldn't be anyone for us to rule."
Yeah, he was like, I don't really feel like ruling a galaxy of dead people, so
yeah,
please
and
try not to kill everybody, please.
yeah, and Vader doesn't even reply. He's like, okay, you know. So then we have Jessica New breaking into the Jedi Temple, and I guess the dude, I forget what agency he's with, that's supposed to be defending it. He's oblivious to it. She's about to be discovered, so she blows up her spaceship, and then Darth Vader. There's this really cool page where Darth Vader is sitting there meditating.
Yeah,
that's just some amazing art, man. That really is.
You will see more of that in the issues coming. And while the story of Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker is tragic, this book really puts home, it really drives home, he chose this, and is continuing to choose it. He chooses the dark side again and again and again and again and again and again, up until he runs into Luke Skywalker in
episode 4.
Well,
5 or 6. Yeah, I mean, he runs into him in 4. It's really,
it's really Return of the Jedi when he makes the decision.
Episode 6.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Anywho, so the Coruscant police are called in because, the thing blew up at the temple, and no one knows who Darth Vader is yet. So the dude's like, do I call you Darth or Mr. Vader or Mr. Darth? He's like, you call me Lord. Yeah.
He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Which is a pretty cool line. And then Vader instantly shows them what they're looking at, which is a blown up spaceship.
Specifically, it's a Jedi fighter.
Yes, it's a Jedi fighter. And then you got the end of the book where Jessica New's trying to make her escape. So I really enjoyed this, man.
And her whole mission is to recover a list of all of the Force sensitive children in the galaxy.
Yes.
That's the thing that she's looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
tell us about Dr. Aphra number 14. Then I want to circle back to something about Star Wars.
Okay. Dr. Aphra 14 was all right. What's this lady's name? Oh yeah. Officer Magna Tolvan, the lady with the metal neck or whatever. She continues to be embarrassed by Dr. Aphra. Therefore she has been demoted. She's out here on this base. She's just kind of moping around when all of a sudden a dropship shows up and a bunch of mercenaries get out and start killing everybody, which is enough cover to give Dr. Aphra time to steal their special project TIE fighter that they're working on. Officer Tolva obviously figures out what's going on, tries to get into the spaceship, where she finds Dr. Aphra pointing a blaster at her. They have this interesting conversation regarding what they've been up to lately, and Dr. Aphra kind of hits on her. So instead of killing her, Dr. Aphra stuns her, throws her out, and steals the spaceship. And at the end here, we figure out that Dr. Aphra is actually working for her old droid, 000. And how that came to be, I don't know. It doesn't have, this is kind of a standalone issue where it has nothing to do with the previous story.
We're once or twice a year, the Memphis Public Library has a book sale, and we go down there Saturday, and dude, it was hardbacks were $2, paperbacks were $1.
Oh wow!
We spent Renee and I spent like $35. Amanda spent another $15, and I couldn't decide whether or not I wanted to buy Star Wars books or Tom Clancy books. Mm-hmm. So I bought all the Tom Clancy tomes that I'm behind on for the last few years. Dude, there were books you could have spent $100 and got all kinds of stuff to read, man. And I just passed on the Star Wars stuff because I just didn't. And I don't know when I'm going to get around to reading these Jack Ryan stories, but I'm looking forward to them because
I was going to say you got comic books you can't read. So.
Oh, of course, man. So let's add novels. 4 Tom Clancy books that are 3 inches thick.
Yeah,
I mean, if you seriously, when he wrote The Hunt for Red October, which was like the first or second book, it was 800 pages.
Yeah.
10 years later, his books are like, no exaggeration, 15, 1600 pages.
Yeah, they're George R. R. Martin novels.
dude, they're massive, man. Anyway, so what was your favorite book this week?
Darth Vader #8.
It was good. It was a toss-up between Darth Vader #8 and holy cow, what was the other one? Oh, Doctor Strange 381. I'm gonna go with Doctor Strange 381 because I'm really looking forward to that storyline, and I liked seeing Loki portrayed like that, or the Hulk book. No, make it the Hulk book, not the Hulk book. Thor. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thor was good too. My runner-up would have to be Defenders #7, but that Darth Vader book beat it. And
yeah,
let me tell you, I've been keeping up on the regular issues of Darth Vader. It just keeps getting better.
Cool.
Yeah.
You know what we had in the dump this week?
What's that?
2 years, actually 3 or 4 years, because I was reading Marvel Unlimited long before we started doing the podcast. I have been looking for Marvel team-up books.
Oh, yeah.
And they're actually putting Marvel team-up books last week, this week in the dump. And I'm just so happy. It pleases me. It does.
Yeah. You also get Werewolf by Night, which I didn't even know was a Marvel thing. So there you go.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No. There's a very popular video game based on Werewolf by Night that I didn't realize was a Marvel property before relatively recently.
I think that's the whole John Jameson Moonstone thing, but I'm not sure.
It is. It is. Yeah. Do we have a classic read this week? You mentioned something about it.
We do. As we've done this podcast, it's been interesting because I've learned about other artists and writers, and I've become fans of some of these people, if that makes sense. I didn't. It's like, okay, I didn't know who Mike Deodato Jr. was until recently, and now, we're basically studying these books and studying the writers every week. And I was reading something about Warren Ellis, and
oh man,
I think I read this, but I didn't realize that Warren Ellis and Mike Deodato Jr. did like a 16-issue run on Thunderbolts. It starts with Thunderbolts #110.
Yeah,
which is it's during the Dark Reign period.
Right, that's when I actually started reading Thunderbolts.
Dude, that series is so good. I mean, Ellis's writing is great. You got Deodato drawing it. That series is good, man. It really is.
Yeah, and you've got a little bit of a different lineup than your normal Thunderbolts crew.
Oh yeah, because Norman Osborn is blackmailing them all to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great, man.
And one of them is the Matt Gargan Venom, isn't it?
Yes.
Who, when he's like a cannibal and is eating people.
Yes.
Yeah.
He on their first mission, they have to tase him to stop him from activate the nanites inside him to stop him from eating whoever it was. They were Jack Flag. They were trying to arrest him, and they have to stop him from eating him.
Do you think Matt Gargan every now and again, now that he's not Venom, just thinks, man, a couple years ago I ate a lot of people?
I don't know.
I don't know either, man. Anyway, that Dark Reign era of Thunderbolts is really good.
It really is. It's really good. I went back and read some of them because, hey, I've got enough to read.
Yeah. Dude, you're telling me. Well, that'll pretty much wrap us up for this week. We would like it if you checked out our other show, What's Next. It's where we go on a deep dive into Marvel Unlimited and tell you what else you should be reading. Although we're taking a slight detour to discuss the history of the comic book industry in the next couple of episodes.
Well, but it talks about great comics that you can read inside the Marvel Unlimited app.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
We stay on theme. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That is the number 6monthsbehind@gmail.com.
The website's www.6monthsbehind.com.
And please give us a follow on Twitter at 6monthsbehind. Pat, before we go, do you have any wisdom to imbibe to our young, influential minds?
Wisdom is the ability to learn from change.
I would have to agree with that wholeheartedly. All right. See you guys next week.
Peace.